And we're fucking here for a nice wet Sunday afternoon here in the bunker here in Byron Bay. No, it's not Broncos tears or Raiders tears out there, but it is just the good old stuff that makes this beautiful Northern Rivers grass green. Duane Neville here on the DUANEO podcast for episode 6. And joining me today is, he's definitely got legend status of sorts. If you're familiar with the Bilambil Jets in the NRRL, well, they are now about to play in the NRRL in about 3 weeks' time. They were supposed to play beginning of April, and then, of course, the thing that needs no introduction, the coronavirus, has taken over. But they'll be making their debut in a few weeks on the south side of the border, the one where you can still move around freely, unlike the one up north. Other than Mickey Coleman, how you going, brother?
DUANEO, yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's pretty exciting times at Bilambil. We're trying to come. We'll be back in the Northern Rivers comp for 2020. So everyone was they were really pumped actually to play. And yeah, like you said, coronavirus has halted it a little bit, but fingers crossed in 3 weeks we'll be back up and running and we're all good to go.
Yeah. So you've always and like like all the other teams in the state, have only just got back to training. What was it, 2 weeks ago? How's all that vibe been going? It's because obviously you're having to follow certain protocols and stuff. It's basically in, out, and no more hanging for sausage sandwiches and beers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not as fun. But in saying that, it's funner than not training at all and not playing at all. So we're fortunate enough to have a junior field and a senior field over at Bilambil.
Yeah.
So when we first came back, we were splitting all the 4 grades up a bit. So we had the under 18s training at one field, we had the seniors at another, and our ladies league tag team were training on separate nights on the Monday and Wednesdays, just so we could stay in that 20 people limit, 20 people group sizes and things like that. But pretty sure on July 1st, they're going to ease the restrictions up a little bit more. So once we get confirmation, hopefully we can get the club back as a whole, all training together and meshing together, because it's it's a big part of the culture down at Bilambil, being as one kind of thing. So.
And it was already feeling like, and we speak about it privately because you're also part of the new edition of the NRRL commentary team as well. But one of 2 big pickups, the other one being the other bloke I spoke to a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, Trevor Osborne. So a couple of good off-season pickups along the way. But we were talking about how long this off-season's been, man. It felt like the longest fucking off-season ever. And then we get about 3 weeks away from, day one, the first match day, and then we're on the shelf. I thought to be brutally honest, man, I thought just pack your bags and think about it next year, and we have to do all this off season all over again, and plus tenfold. So, how is it feeling from a Bilambil scale, knowing that you've just come into a new comp, you were all excited, and there was all talk about it, and then all this shit's happened?
Yeah, if anything, that's probably going to be the main thing that will hurt us down at Bilambil. It was so anticlimactic. Like we'd managed to change competitions. We changed our logo to a new design. We got all these, players returning and new players wanting to play for the club.
Yeah.
Had the ladies league tag team for the first time ever. And we had like this huge, massive buzz and everyone was pumped. Yeah. And now that balloon is a little bit deflated. But I guess the worst thing is, instead of us being like right up here, we're still just about here. So it's still exciting times, and it was difficult. And like you said, we were there was the possibility of no competition at all.
Yeah.
And to just think about 2021, but the amount of effort that our club put into changing competitions, and I think the amount of effort that the NRRL and all the committee and board members and all the other clubs wanting 2020 to go ahead, it just it goes to show how much more it isn't just a game of rugby league, and it's a community kind of sport, and it brings everyone together. And for people to work so hard to want the competition to go ahead, I think it's a good thing. And I think that we're potentially 3 weeks away from kickoff will, get everyone a little bit saner. So
I know, it's exciting times, man. You could just feel that vibe, though. I mean, I'm not sure about Queensland yet. I still haven't been able to get up there, but I mean, it's just, you can just feel like going to first, you could just feel somewhat back to normality, like going to the pub, having it sitting out for. I could remember back when it was like you only let 10 people in a pub, or 10 people at a
Yeah.
cafe, and how great that was to. I remember me and my partner Stephanie. We went to this cafe in Ballina, at East Ballina, and we'll just go and we'll just do what we normally do, pick up the takeaway. That's been the norm for the last little while, and then we found there's some seats not taken. We're thinking just to sit that first time, just sitting down. It's like the little fucking things, man. Just sitting down, having a bacon egg roll and a coffee, and then the following week the pubs are back open, and then having that first schooner after 3 months, man. Oh man, it was so
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's good.
And
Yeah, the little stuff like that. It takes people's minds off it as well. You know, it's just all you heard for 3 months, and when you can sit down, get a feed, get a beer, like there's that hour, 2 hours that you're just not thinking about it. So it's
yeah. And then but it also makes you appreciate that, like, we're in a lot better place than what most people are. Like I've got two sisters now that are in Melbourne, who live there in the Yarra portion. So, and they're going backwards, because of all the community outbreaks there, and so. And then then you've got like other places around the world, and it's just they would kill to be even halfway where Australia. So we're doing all the right things, but it's at the same time, it infuriates me when I see certain things. Like I could write a long novel about all the things that I've seen in the last month, which I'm thinking, well, shit, this is going to bring all this hard work undone, and
yeah.
it's like I think it's a fucking wake up call for people to appreciate all the little things in life, because it could be taking you just like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the reasons people were so pushing for the restrictions to ease a little bit, is so they can do those little things, like you said, like a morning coffee, or a Sunday pub feed, or even like going footy training and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely, people aren't gonna. We've had our touch competitions potentially cancelled up this way too, and OzTag's been put on hold, but it's for the greater good in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if everyone is obeying the rules and stuff like that, and we can go ahead, then I think it's a good thing that we can or potentially could. So.
And as I may have mentioned earlier, like like we were talking about, there was every chance that this, well, I speak from the NRRL point of view, that this season was not even going to get off the ground, and it looks like that's going to be one of the few lucky ones. I know Group 3 down towards Port Macquarie way, they're not playing. I don't think Group 4 out towards Tamworth's playing. Could be wrong. And I think Group 2 is, I don't think they've officially announced it yet, but I hear Grafton Ghosts aren't playing this year. There was the defending premiers, and they're both no Grafton, no competition, basically. Like no disrespect to all the other clubs, but Grafton have always been that benchmark. And then I think there was one other club from Group 2 that just pulled the pin on it too. And there was even a couple like from our end, the NRRL, that pulled out about in the last week or so. I think Evans Head and Lower Clarence to memory. And I think the juniors is actually the Group 1 juniors, because I know you're up in the Group 18 section, and Group 1, well, Byron's Group 18. So, so Ballina, Lismore, Casino, that Group 1 junior competition, I think, has been pulled the pin as well.
Yeah, really. Well, from what we were hearing, one of the main concerns about our competition going ahead is we were hearing that if there was no crowds allowed to the games, they probably wouldn't go ahead and play, because you don't get the money coming in. You're not getting. That's why the local people play to play in front of their drunk mates and their girlfriends and things like that. And if they're not there to enjoy it at the game, then there's no real point of playing rugby league, because
that's true.
I wouldn't play. I hate playing. I get bashed. I get smashed. And have beers and stuff with my mates after. So if you take that away, a lot of people will lose interest in it. There wouldn't be much point of playing.
So on game day, so you're speaking about having beers with mates and all that kind of. So is that the same sort of deal with training when it comes to? I mean, with the whole playing side of things. So you basically just get in your car, get your kit on, and then get out, play, and leave. Is that sort of the protocol there too, or is that going to be sort of?
Like. No, it is, but honestly, it's kind of like that anyway down at Bilambil when we play and when we train, because on a Tuesday night, if it's freezing cold and you've just done an hour training session, like everyone kind of just wants to get straight home, have a hot shower, and get ready for work on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thursday night footy, when that got introduced, some of the boys would stay back and have a few beers and watch the footy and things like that. But, we were only talking 10 people max were doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a loss for us, but definitely on game day, that was a huge one. On games, after the game days, it was really stay around the club, help out the club by buying a few more beverages. And if that gets not taken away, but it's definitely going to be modified, that'll be kind of one of the trying ones for us. So we'll just see how it is. We're pretty optimistic at this stage. And I think the whole competition, they don't really have too much to worry about with the crowds and the social distancing, because half the crowd that come to our games, and I notice at some of the other grounds as well, like people are sitting in their cars around the field and things like that. You might have 100 cars parked up with 2-3 people in each car and stuff. So you might keep that distance. But things like the beer garden and stuff might have to be a little bit, separated and things. But I think if it can work out and people are willing to give it a go, then it'll be doable.
Well, I tell you what, though, from my personal perspective, and I was just talking about this with my people last night, I actually don't mind a bit of the whole new social distancing coming into play a bit, because there's nothing worse than sitting on a plane, for example, and you're sitting next to someone that's just like, I always take an aisle seat when I'm flying, and then because I fucking hate it when I love the window seat when you're flying, you're looking outside, looking at the good views and stuff. But I'm forced to take an aisle seat because I used to sit in row 30 because I want to be right next to the toilet. I want to be the last person off the plane because I hate crowds. Just like not people, but crowds. Just like I hate. The older I'm getting, the more claustrophobic I'm getting. And but when it comes to flying, I can't sit at row 30 no more because I don't know. I used to be cool with flying, and then I had a couple of bad experiences that sort of made me a bit, click off a bit of an anxiety kind of thing. And so I don't sit at the back of the plane no more. So I've got to sit up the front or the middle and then in the aisle seat. So then I can go, I don't have to, ask, pay someone off to get out of their seat and feel like I'm an asshole to go to the toilet. You know what I mean? So, and then they take the middle, and then you want to, they take your your armrest too. And it's just like,
The one that's getting me a lot is in the shopping is when you're down an aisle and you see someone else walking up an aisle and you're walking down an aisle and you're like, oh, am I allowed to quickly sneak past? Or like most people are fairly normal, and other people like stop and like give you a stare like that. And like, well, I'm not walking away all down aisle 4 to get to the far end of aisle 3. So,
mate, don't get me started. In Byron Bay, they've just stunned mullets. Like they're absolutely like, I was at Woolies the other day. Just wanted to get in and out. I had to go and buy my mum an SD card or something like that, and I just picked up a packet of chippies or chocolates, and as I do, and I'm walking around, and then these people are just plodding along like this. They get in your personal space, and it's like, fuck off, and then you're going around the corner, and then they're just standing there, and then they don't even look at you twice. They're just like, so, and it's just like, guys, there's still a thing called a virus around, and it's like, it's like, get out of my space. So you also so as I said at the top there that you're a bit of a legend of Bilambil Jets. So you haven't played your whole career with Bilambil. I think you had a bit of time at Tweed Raiders in reserve grade as well. And when did Bilambil kick in?
It's actually, I don't know, let's call it a funny story, but a different kind of story of why
I like funny
play
stories.
for a club. I was actually, I was at Coogin about 10 years. I played about, maybe 8 years of juniors there, and then a couple of years of seniors. I played at South Tweed, and then I moved away for a long time, 4 or 5 years. And when I moved back, I just said, I'm not playing footy anymore. And I got a phone call one morning, and I was hungover and I picked up the phone. I was like, hello. As my mate, big Roger Nang Wu, and he said, mate, we're short of players. We're playing a trial match. Can you come play for Bilambil for us? And I said, nah, like I'm done playing footy. I've given up. I've hung the boots up for the third time. And he's like, hey?
How long ago was this?
Probably 7 years ago.
Shit, 7 years ago. So, yeah.
But he called up and I said, I'm not playing. And he goes, oh, we're playing against Coogin, your old club, Coogin. And I was
You had to play it, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Okay. Down. So I rocked up, and it was just a fun kind of no pressure atmosphere, and played an all right game, and then
Bullshit. It's never. It's never.
to stay around. And, yeah, that's how I ended up at Bilambil, and I'd moved away again. And the 1 year I had at Tweed Coast Raiders, they were just starting the club back up again,
Yeah.
the
I remember.
senior. And yeah, one of our good mates, Justin Cullen, he passed away a few years ago, and that really drove everyone to start up Tweed Coast again. And I was like, well, if I'm going to play for anyone, I'm going to play for the Tweed Coast Raiders for the JC. And yeah, had 1 year there.
Yep.
And I thought I was done again. And then, yeah, next thing back at Bilambil. So,
Yeah, it's. I mean, home is where the heart is, and it's like and so because that's because the interesting one with the whole connection with Tweed Coast and Bilambil, you dare not speak of it because see, there's a guy named Benny. Is he like your president? Benny, or is it?
he was last year. Benny
He was.
Rigney was. Yeah, Jeff's president this year.
Because I got my own story about that because he was at not Soundwave, fucking what was it, Good Things Festival. I was up there, and then I saw the videos. He was there in the Parkway Drive mosh pit, and I said I sent him a text afterwards on Instagram, and I said, mate, you're tackling like you're part of the Tweed Coast Raiders there, mate. You're showing you show. I said, mate, are you going in for some tattoos or something tomorrow or something? And what's the go? And then mate, he's like, fuck, go piss off, mate. And I'm like, oh, he's a classic though. I like his Simpson memes that he posts up every second day.
It's not. Yeah, he's upset.
Oh man, it makes the day go quicker. But yeah. But what I was about, in all seriousness, with the whole Tweed Coast Raiders thing, one thing I have noticed is that a lot of Bilambil players went over to Tweed Coast. You were one of maybe about 15. Then you look at, I know the Lanston brothers are the two that stick out as well. And so the number one question is: has any of those Raiders players come out? Because I've been out of touch with the whole who's playing where kind of thing. Has any of the Raiders players come back to Bilambil now you're back in the NRRL?
No, none of them have. But honestly, a lot of them weren't Bilambil players as such. Like the only option was play. You couldn't play for Tweed Coast Raiders at the time, so a lot of them were Tweed Coast juniors. Yeah, and if there was a choice, I got no doubt they all would have played there. So they were all playing at Bilambil, and they all loved it. Not like taking away that they weren't Bilambil players or anything like that. But once the opportunity came that they could be Tweed Coast players again, I think they all just accepted it. And just the year I had out there was really fun as well. You can just tell they're really strong cultured. They were all doing it for each other, and to go from not being in the competition to then winning the competition it was like 3 years or something like that.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just it was always there. It was ready to happen. So we always GM up every year, trying to convince them to come back to the Valley. But I think they're pretty much Tweed Coast Raiders boys now. So
they're just a special club, and every club's a special club in their own way. And covering NRRL the past couple of seasons, it's I got out of my Byron bubble, and I went and watched all the games. I've been to all the grounds and whatnot. But I take a perspective on all the teams and how they're special in certain ways. You look at Ballina, Ballina are a very strong family club. You got, I think I said that in commentary with you in a Bilambil game last year. They just got connected. The players out there have all been friends in school. And then probably their fathers were all friends since school. And and there's actually fucking street names named after a whole lot of these players. And then, but Tweed Coast I got that final series in 2018. That was just, you could make a fucking Hollywood movie about how special that meant to everybody. And I knew what was coming, and you could hear it in my voice when I was commentating, because I knew, I've been a fan. I've been one of those guys, and I said this to Crossy in the podcast. I was one of those, not one of the Tweed Coast guys, but I was one of those supporters only a few seasons before that in Ballina, cheering on the Red Devils. And so and as a neutral fan, and so I knew how much And like Byron didn't get the win that day, but I've seen Byron win a grand final in 08, and I could just feel how fucking special that would have been for them. So that was coming out in the commentary as well. And then, of course, you know, we got a few muppets on the comments saying, "Oh, you're fucking yelling too loud and whatnot." And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I think,
It's
man,
exciting.
yeah, well,
It's meaningful.
yeah, mate, you know, you get those jokers, and I'm just thinking, well, I mean, the joke's on them, because if you're any part of a Tweed Coast Raiders supporter, the only reason you not be there is if mummy and daddy grounded you for being a little brat. And that's the only thing I got to take on that. So, but
Yeah.
it's a special club, and the scene that was just, you could make a movie about that, and just the tension that was probably by far the most intense atmosphere for a grand final. And I'm not just talking NRRL, I'm talking like NRL. That was
Yeah.
state of origin kind of like intensity. And
Yeah, I was there that day too, and it was definitely fun to be a part of. And
yeah,
it because we were Bilambil was in the Gold Coast comp for the last few years. I'm not too kind of involved with what was happening in the NRRL for the last
yeah,
few seasons, but as we saw that you know, Brent Kite was coaching the Tweed Coast Raiders
yeah.
from was it from 2008? Was it his first year or whenever it was?
Yeah, well, that was his first go at it, 2018. Yeah,
And like I was personally thinking, like, man, how did they get that kind of connection to get like an ex NRL superstar to come to the little sleepy town of Cabarita to take them to a premiership? So like it's pretty impressive, and it's not like they're, you know, a big club with a huge clubhouse and restaurant and,
yeah,
you know, facilities, things like that. Like it's a pretty you know, it is what it is. And to get Cardi there, I thought was a pretty good well, it was a great buy in the end, and they got the connection with Mickey Gordon there as well as his junior
yeah.
club and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's definitely they got their players and they got their pull and they were doing the right stuff. So
And Mick Gordon, he's playing this year, isn't he? I saw around. Is he still going to be playing? I heard on the grapevine that he was.
the last time I had a chat with him was at his coffee shop in Cabarita there, and it was pre-Corona. And he said he scored a gig doing the blue shirt or the first aid officer for the Gold Coast Titans on game day.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Um, pretty sure I saw him last night on the TV doing the blue shirt. I wasn't really paying attention, but I think whenever he can play when he's not with the Titans, I'd
yeah,
assume that he is going to play for the Tweed Coast Raiders. So yeah, once
yeah,
again, like huge boost for the club. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's just snowballing after having Todd Carney and Jamie Lyon strap on the boots last year, and
yeah,
and yeah, I'm hoping that we can be back in the box and in a few weeks' time and just pick up where we left it, because man, it was the longest off season even before this bullshit with the coronavirus, man. And it's like just to have that taste to get back into it, man. It's like looking forward to it.
yeah, we were trying to get James Tedesco down to Bilambil for this year, and
Okay.
he said he'd get back to us. So we're still waiting to see what he. So.
Oh man, it's like I mean the Roosters, man. He's probably I know he took a bit of a knock the week before against the Eels, but yeah, they don't want him going anywhere too far after watching the Roosters the other night. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I think what's his name, Boyd Cordner, was lucky to still have his left eye, and then two of their other players, what's his name, Kotrick, done an ACL, and another young fella got an ACL. So
Bradley and
Kotrick, I think it was,
yeah.
yeah. But hey, I mean they're still in prime posse compared to, say, well, my mob after last night's disgrace.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a few there's a few good teams this year, like the Roosters, Parramatta, Panthers are going real well, and then there's a few ordinary teams. But I think it's you got to think Corona has something to do with it. Just that break, like Broncos, they won their first two games and they won
Yeah, I
really
know.
well. I had a
Yeah.
mate four at the start of the year actually. In my pre-season tips, and then after coming back from the break, Broncos are going a little bit. Oh, they've gone a lot of bit south actually. They're
That's
just
there's something like this is coming from someone who's well, I've been a member since '08 and following them for about a good, what is it, like 20 years nearly, just under 20 years. And man, I can cop a loss. That's part of this thing that we love called football. But what I've seen the last few weeks, for whatever different reasons, it's toxic, man. It's really toxic. It's to the point where I'm itching to go watch football. I'm itching to go watch a live game, and I'm sewn in for next season for membership. Because I think that you pay off your membership this year and they carry over next year. So I'm sewn in for next year. But the thing I'm going to pay an extra $1 to go and watch this crap that I watched the other night or last night. It's like the thing is, mate. The sad reality of it is, I actually tipped the Titans, and
Yeah.
the reason being is that, see, it's not so much the effort on the field. It's like, well, for one, they get flogged. Okay, the loss against the Eels, fair cop. That's probably because of new rules and first game. You don't read too much into that. Then we played but then when we played the Roosters and lost 59-0, and you got to remember, like, we lost 50 to fucking 4, whatever. Like, no, sorry, 52-0 in the semi-final. We should not have.
Yeah.
And then you got these other guys that are playing pokies and shit the night before, not getting their rest in, and then what was next? The game against Manly. If you're fucking 24-0 up, you don't lose the game. You do not lose that, and it's just attitude. It's just piss weak attitude. And then what was that? Newcastle. That was just I fell asleep, I think, during that one. But then the one against the Tide, it's what grinds my gears, Mickey, is, and it's been in the press today, is two things. It's for one, Seabold, the way he carried on in the press conference saying, it's not Seabold's fault, man. He'd be the luckiest coach in the world right now because he's on a 5-year deal. He's guaranteed. If he gets sacked, he doesn't have to work for another 3.5 years.
Yeah.
There's no point sacking him now because the Broncos, finances are rife across the board. So the Broncos' hands are tied. They're not going to sack him now. But then I look at how Darius Boyd and how he ever became captain. The way that, like, he gets a challenging question and he's like saying, why do you write that? Why do you write that? It's defensively. It's a stupid question. It's not.
Mm.
And then, but the one but what topped it all off, the one thing that topped it all off is the way that the boys, Isaac Luke has only been in the club 5 minutes, hugging and laughing, and there was none of that. None of that. Like, if Shane Webke, Gordon Tallis and all that, they would not be able to play next week if that's the way they carried on after a loss like that, especially after 5 straight.
Yeah, they don't really care, and maybe if it is because they're such a young team and some of these players have only played 1 or 2 years of first grade, they don't realise that this could be a kind of ongoing 2 or 3 season problem. But I also, whether it's fair or not, but the Broncos are one of those teams who are expected to perform. And if they're not going well, just that extra pressure. Like, if the Titans, I love the Titans, but if the Titans, or say the Bulldogs for the last few seasons, aren't having their best years, people are kind of like, they're not expected to go as well. But when a team like the Broncos does it, it just magnifies that kind of expectation and professionalism that's expected. And it's, they got great players. I really liked Anthony Milford when he was at Canberra.
Yeah.
He was. I thought he was great at fullback because he'd had so much more room. If he gets it on a kick return, he can dance and he can dazzle. Even running a block play in a backline move, if he gets it at 5'8", and the defense is right up in him, just doesn't have as much kind of room because he's the first person to catch it. But if he's running that block play and he's that tail runner at fullback, it's got that 2 or 3 more meters. See exactly what the defense is going to do. If a defensive player makes the wrong kind of move and shoots in or something, you can take advantage of that. So I've been really, saying, not that I really know because I'm not a huge Broncos fan, but I think moving Milford back to fullback wouldn't be a bad thing. Now that you got, it's Croft there now, isn't it?
But they've already tried that. They've already put Milford there, I think, last year, but because Darius Boyd wasn't, delivering it at fullback anymore, so they put him to the centers. They actually put Boyd in at 5'8". So it's like they've tried all that kind of shit. That's what I mean. It's like they've tried all that. And you're right. You're spot on. It's a bit of an attitude problem. Like, a lot of the players, and not just the Broncos in this case, a lot of these players, and this is why I worry for players like David Fafita, he's got $5 million, a $5 million carrot dangling under his nose, is at the moment he signs that shit, like you could show your potential and show what your money, but then when you get signed to a 5-year deal for 4.5 of it, you just, oh well, I'm getting paid this amount of money. There's got to be performance clauses in contracts. Contracts have got to friggin' mean something, and that's why if Seabold was to go, the board's got to go with him. And I always question the board the way that they handled the Bennett scenario. Turns out Bennett was moving in on his future employers while still getting paid by his current one, which that was what was alleged. But it turns out that a lot of it, you got to hold people to account for their money. It's like if anyone did a shit job and anything they did, they'd be sacked and you wouldn't be getting paid. You know what I mean? So football shouldn't be any different.
Yeah, with the contracts as well, I'm a pretty big NBA fan, a basketball fan too. And you'll get the up-and-coming players like the 19, 20, 21-year-olds, and they're signing, well, they have to. They're given the choice. You sign a three-year deal or you don't get picked up. It's very rarely they're signing a 1 or a 2-year deal. So, they might sign when they're 19 and they're 20, 21, 22 when their contracts run up. And you've had to have a few seasons to prove yourself. But in the NRL, it's kind of like all the clubs have FOMO. They've got a big fear of missing out on that next superstar player. And they'll throw, like you said, massive contracts at potential players just so they don't miss out on that next kind of superstar signing. I think the Rabbitohs just signed one of the youngsters coming through the ranks. And Sam Burgess said, if we didn't sign him, another club would have. Same as the Raiders. They've signed this kid from England. I forget his name, but he's only 18 years old. He hasn't even played a first grade game of Super League yet.
Yeah.
And they signed him to NRL next year. So it's, that people are wanting to get that next player when I think they do need that kind of 2 or 3 good, consistent years of playing before they can get that big contract deal kind of thing. So
yeah, because it's like, but I mean, it's shown it hasn't really worked. It doesn't really, and this is just solidifies what I'm saying is that, you look at Ashley Taylor, he was one of those similar players. He was just behind who was halfback at the time, Ben Hunt. And so, I mean, that didn't pay off well for Brisbane on both fronts because Ben Hunt pissed off down to the Dragons the next season. And that's the other thing. He's on $1 million a season for the next 4 years. He's 2 years into a 6-year deal. And the Titans, they bought Jared Wallace and Jai Arrow and they put him on big money, didn't get him anywhere. And Jai Arrow's going to South next year. And so it's it's these clubs, and then it all comes down to the fact when during coronavirus and everyone's having to take a haircut with their money, the players are like, oh no, it's like, and then they're holding the game up from progressing, and there was even talk is May 28 even going to happen to be a kickoff, and so and that's just what I think. I mean, okay, it's not just in rugby league, I get it, but it's just the mentality of more in the younger players, and it's this new generation where earn your stripes, and when you speak about Anthony Milford, 2015 when he came to the Broncos, had a cracking season, had an amazing season, and then I think he was signed for 2 years at that point. Then 2016, and then when he got his deal, the Broncos had to pay overs to retain him because Melbourne were hot down the Broncos for it to get him. So then that's when he's on the current deal now, about $1 million. He hasn't delivered on it at all. And now there's even talk he might get dropped next week against the Warriors, and Tommy Dreeden is going to take his place. I mean, it's just that's just what's wrong with the game.
Yeah. I like because the Titans are our local club as well. It's they weren't performing very well for the last few seasons, and one of the things that agitated fans would think, I think, is that little bit more is, like you said, they were buying those players. Like they were buying the, the Cartwrights and the Peaches and whoever it was, and they were bringing them to the club and they were still losing. So if you had these, players that weren't getting a run because of that, but they were still coming kind of, last and things like that. So it's good to see players like, Jamal Fogarty get a start at halfback. He's a Billy Bears product, and to see him running around the sevens real good. Jai Whitbread's another kind of local. junior from the area who he hasn't had much game time this year, but to see those players kind of coming through, and Titans have been a few games now, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't, you don't mind if they're kind of, I guess, investing for the future, but yeah, sometimes it's a buy now, a quick fix kind of attitude when they're buying these players and on the contracts, and if they don't perform, then it just it just makes the situation look a lot worse than it is. So, but it's always hard. It's difficult coming into a new club, moving to a new area, learning a new game plan and coaches and things. But if you've got a few years to figure it out, then yeah, you think you'd be performing by now. So,
and see, my idea on this, and they do this in the A League and the soccer, and they always cop a bit of a pounding for this. And A League's got its faults, but it's one thing I sort of agree with, like with the salary cap thing. They've only got with the A League, you probably throw more money at it, but you could have. Well, what I think the idea is have X amount of players outside of the cap, and they could be your marquee players, and then you pay the rest out of the cap. But then you also have an allocation, especially now that there's no more under 20s, and especially that there's like New South Wales and Q Cup, they're out for this year. But I'd like to see, like, you got to have certain amount of juniors in, like, to really say two or three juniors in your squad. It doesn't have to be in the 13. Like, have a couple of juniors.
Yeah, cool.
It gives them all a go, and that's so you have a cap. I have two juniors. You can have two or three players that you can pay as much as you want, and then the rest, goes through the wash.
Yeah, right. It's it's definitely a good and interesting concept, and in the American, the NBA as well, I think they get it's called like bird rights or something as well. For if a player's been at the club for a bit longer, they get to sign for an extra year and sign for that more money to keep that at the club, kind of thing.
Yeah, yep.
Because players playing for 2 seasons at 6 different clubs for their whole NRL career, it's not uncommon anymore. Like it used to be, everyone was like a one kind of player, and now it's like this person, Nathan Highmarsh, only played for the Eels, and everyone's they're bizarre. It's a kind of not a stat that happens too much anymore. So,
well, and I mean, and that's the other thing. Andrew McCulloch, who played close to, I think, hundreds of games for for the Broncos, been playing there for like 10 years. He's been at the club as long as I've been a member, and they just shipped him off to Newcastle. I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that we need him right now.
He looks a bit not out of place as a player, out of place as why has McCulloch got a Newcastle jersey on. But yeah, if anything, he kind of luckily escaped from the Broncos ship for this season, and he's jumped onto the Newcastle Knights, and they're going really well, and being a real good player in the role that he's playing for Newcastle. So you feel for those kind of players, but yeah, I even remember Gordon Tallis. He was doing a talk on the radio, and they were saying, the Broncos have asked if you want to come back and help out and stuff like that at the Broncos. And Tallis just this, went, nah.
Yeah.
It's not what it used to be. They didn't want my help when I wanted to help. Now that they want it, they're trying to ask us back. He said he's with the Titans now, and Titans beat Broncos on the weekend. So it's starting to turn more into, I guess, a business.
Yeah.
And clubs performing is the main, well, not the main, but it's definitely high up there with, the values of the club is we making money, we need to be performing, we need the crowds in. Otherwise it's like it's not worth it. So
yeah, and it's and I did hear that Tal's talk was something that Matt Lodge I think said, and that's a whole nother story. But but I mean that's the thing though. It's like a lot. It's not just Gordon Tallis. So there's a lot of players that are just ex Broncos players saying, no, this is the shit that you dug yourself in there. You can dig yourself out of it. But the only way it's gonna be fixed is if the board goes. It's got to be a whole reset, because none of the old boys want to touch the Broncos anymore, and it's getting to the point now where it's like this board was responsible for signing Seabold for 5 years, and so now they're going to be held to account of it if they if they're going to explain why they're going to be giving him a donation of 3 years after they have to sack him, then that on its own is that's bringing the club into disrepute. So that itself, it means the board needs to go. But it's dire, and I don't see that's any other way that it could be fixed at Brisbane. But talking on another scale, your Raiders last night, mate, like you would have been on the edge, as you say, last night was what 14-6 or 20-6 was it for the Eels, and then you made a little small comeback, and then
I do this thing where I watch the Raiders, and it's one of those games. At the end of the day, Parramatta, the way the two teams have been playing, should have won the game.
yeah,
You wouldn't be surprised if Parramatta won. A lot of people would have tipped Parramatta.
yeah, I
So
did
I'm not
too.
too concerned. When Raiders had those chances to potentially win, they were winning at halftime, and then they miraculously got it back to 22 all into Golden Point. The game could have been there to win, and
Yeah,
that's what kind of really that's what really hurts. Even a draw, 3 more minutes, we would have got away with the draw and 1 point. But to kind of come all the way back, like it was a great game. I thought the Raiders played a lot better this week than they have. But I actually don't think the Raiders are in that bad of a state at the moment.
no, they're
I
not.
know they've lost. Yeah, they've lost a few games. They're not world beaters kind of like they were last year, or they're second world beaters. But they're not in a bad spot. They just got to kind of get it together, and when it does, I think they'll still be. I've still got them in the top 8, and I still see them, going into the at least second round of the finals. So
I'm just watching Manly versus Cronulla at the moment, and to anyone say that one player doesn't fucking matter, is bullshit. You look at Manly right now. You want to know what the score is against Cronulla? I don't know if you've already seen it or not. It's 40-18
to the Sharks.
to the Sharks. Yeah,
No way.
5.5 to go, but holy shit, that's like
Yeah.
and that's without Trebojevic. So it makes you wonder, like, when they say one player doesn't make a team, well, in Manly's case, that's myth busted.
Yeah. They saw the interview last week with Daly Cherry Evans after the game, and the reporter said, "Oh, Turbo might be out for 6 weeks," and you could just see he was like, "Oh no, that's devastating news," because he's a great player. Just not even for Manly, like he'll be ready for the Origin. Are you Blues or New South Wales anyway?
Yeah, he plays for New South, yeah. And sorry,
You
what
Queensland
Cherry?
or
Oh, am I?
you?
Me? Yeah, I'm a Queenslander.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, you hope you won't be ready. So
Yeah, no, I always believe it's where you're born. Like I couldn't remember Bundaberg. Like I went to Bundaberg last year, but that's where I believe that's where wherever you start is that's where you like. So I've lived in Byron since I was about as high to climb a table, so about 4-year-old. But did all my schooling and stuff here, and the moment I popped out of Bundaberg, I wasn't even there 3 months. We moved to Perth, and then but that's where I was born, so that's what it should be. That's my belief. And so,
the only reason I'm not fussed about it is people can choose for themselves. Is living at Tweed, like you walk across the road, you're in Coolangatta, you walk back across the road to go to shops, you're in New South Wales, and now that I'm a bit older, you realise that if you're living on the border or whatever, if you've got private health cover, you're probably going to John Flynn Hospital and you're born in Tugun.
yeah.
But if you don't, you're probably going to Tweed Heads or Murbar and you're born in New South Wales.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to do your whole constitution, based on if you had private health cover or not. So I don't know. It's just because we know a heap of people growing up at school who were born here or there, and yeah.
I hear this theory that every time that because you get a sprinkle of Maroons who live in New South Wales, and then you got a sprinkle of Blues, and I know a number of them who live in Queensland who used to live here or they've always lived there. That they have this theory that if they're going to have a baby, they're going to we're going to make sure that we're just near the border by the time the water breaks, and so if you're in Byron, they're going to fang it up to the Gold Coast, even though they can't really now, but hopefully in a few weeks. But you say about walking across the border and all that kind of stuff. So how's that vibe been up? Because you're pretty much there on the border. So how's that vibe been? I've seen it in the news and stuff, how businesses are absolutely suffering with this border closure, which I think should have wrapped up months ago. Like I agree. I agree the theory of it when it first came out. And this is someone who's got a partner on the north side of Goldie. But at the same time, that I reckon it should have been, wrapped up a couple of months ago. But so how is it in theory, like with businesses and tourism and
Yeah,
from
well,
perspective?
with the border thing, yeah, you do just realise that how much, as much as you might not want to admit it, that the both states need each other and rely on each other
Of
to
course.
work well. Like everyone, heaps of people from Tweed are going over to Coolangatta, to Burleigh, things like that to vary it up a bit. And then when the restrictions first ease, you go to places like Cabarita Headland or Hastings Point, and it's just all Queensland license plates and stuff like that because
Yeah.
they want to get away from the city to go to the sleepier parts of towns and things. So it is what it is. It's at the end of the day, you print out your border pass, and everyone's just getting waved through at the moment. So everyone who works in Queensland, they're all just getting through. It's just a bit of traffic,
Yeah.
and then you realise how many people are working in Queensland that are coming into New South Wales. But I think Coolangatta is the one that gets hit the most because you got so many people who live right across the border who'd go to,
Yeah.
the cafes and the restaurants and stuff in Cooley. And if they don't have that option kind of freely, like if sometimes you just think you're doing something wrong if you want to go get a friggin', pizza from
Yeah.
Earth and Sea or whatever in Coolangatta. So yeah, it's
I know.
we went to dinner. Yeah.
Sorry, what you were going to say? You went to dinner.
I was saying we went the other night to the Jungle Mexican in Coolangatta,
Yeah.
and we parked just in case, and we had our passes and everything, but we walked over, but they were super thankful. They were like, very appreciative, and they couldn't thank us enough. And they said it was, it looked like pretty struggling times there at one stage, and the restrictions kind of didn't get eased up when they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're appreciating it now. And
Well, I've actually got a legit excuse to come up on Friday because to when we start this commentary stuff, we're looking at doing it remotely, and so I'm getting the setup here, but I'm going to do a makeshift studio at my partner's place. So to do that, I need to check it all out. So I'm there for work. So I'm there for work. So I can come over on Friday, which I'm going to be spending the weekend doing. So with the footy coming up in a couple of weekends. So, but it's also makes it like with this whole coronavirus thing. And I said this to Shore in the first one, how much it's opened our eyes with this technology and how to do things. Because I know remote commentary on games and stuff is not sort of a new thing. It's been done by like Fox a bit, especially like if the Socceroos or something are playing in a place where you can't really. Yeah. So, but I was thinking of it from that scale, like how we would be able to do that for the local leagues and stuff, and that way taking a bit of the travel component out of it. And that's I watched when the South Korean soccer first kicked back off in the beginning of May, and then I heard a familiar voice in Simon Hill, who'd done all the Australian games here for Fox, and then I found out that he was using just a MacBook Pro and just on his couch doing it. I'm thinking, shit, we need to do this, and so I looked into it, and I passed it off to our producer yesterday. So and seeing what they can do with it, and they've actually got a plan. Well, that's actually a plan B, which is great because I've already got a plan A, and then but then I gotta get things makeshift up north because I'll be settling up there once in the coming near future. So that's my excuse to come to Queensland. So I'll be getting the border pass and coming up there. And fuck, man, I miss Queensland.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you do. You don't. As a New South Welshman, you don't say how much you do like going to Queensland, but I love Coolangatta. Yeah, yeah. The opposite. That is the opposite. I saw someone right. Someone wrote, "Open the borders up, Queensland," on a Facebook thing, and someone from Queensland said, "Oh, you complain about us coming down to New South Wales, and now you're complaining about not being let into Queensland or something like that. You can't have it both ways." He's like, "Yeah, you can."
Yeah, absolutely, you can. But I was saying this to everybody. I said, if I was ever going to change allegiances with states, this would probably been it, because the way, Gladys opens up and we can go to the pub, but Anastasia just wants to close everyone out and just make all this bullshit excuse. Like, that's what I mean. You take it in perspective. It's so, if she comes out and announces saying the border's going to be shut for another month because of Victoria, like first it was just Sydney, because we must iterate though, where we are, like where I am and where you are, there hasn't been any virus for months. And like Byron hasn't had a case for like 3 months, and we've only got that poor young girl who's she's had it for about 100 days or something, and she's literally, I think, the only case in Northern Rivers plus one other person. But like, other than that, there's been no virus. So it's like, why are we why is Tweed suffering? Like, why is Coolangatta suffering because of Melbourne? You know what I mean? And I think we like to think in this country we live in, we can come up with a plan. Like the airports have already come up with a plan, Gold Coast Airport. So we'll filter out the Melbourne travellers, and then we can suss out and treat them like international, which I'm cool with that. That's totally fine. But put it in perspective. Don't punish the rest of the country because of, Melbourne.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a tough one. Like I'm all for borders opening up and getting back to a bit more normality sooner rather than later. But if it's if they've come this far and then things start to kind of change and to take step backwards, that would really kind of irk me off a little bit. So if we have to wait that little bit extra just to prevent us not going backwards, I'd have to say I'd agree to that. But if everything opened up, I'd be more ecstatic. So
as I said, like you can at least open the road borders up. But I just think, with the air travel, that's more than fine. And like the other states are doing it, and hold those people to account. So it's all just taking stuff in perspective instead of just thinking, oh shit, I better not do this. But with that being said, one thing, like, what's the one thing that you've done that you didn't do post coronavirus, which is like when the coronavirus hit, one thing that you didn't normally do, but you now has become a part of you?
Well, I've actually picked up a new kind of hobby, actually, and I was wanting something to do, and I've actually wanted to buy one of these for a long time. And because we weren't allowed in groups and stuff, I'm like, what's something I can do by myself and not gonna break too many of these rules and regulations that they had going on? And it was buy a drone. So I bought one of the Mavic 2 drone things. And it's really been a lot of fun. I kind of bought it just. Oh, here it is. Here, actually, right in front of me.
I was talking about drones with Trevor, our new camera guy, and because he takes some pretty cool shit on his, and I was actually gonna I'll just bring this up here because I was having a squiz at your Insta before coming on, but I saw some of your stuff that, like, funny you mentioned that. I saw some of the videos, man, and it's just fucking amazing what's come out. So, so how's that been for you, man? Like with using that?
Yeah, it's cool. Like the best thing about it is it does everything for you. All you do is point where you want it to go, and it takes the incredible footage and the photos and stuff like that. So,
can you see that?
So So there's a drone shot.
Drone shot of the drone shot.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of, one of the first things I put up was I was at the footy fields, and I just threw it around the Bilambil Valley and through the goalposts and around the ground and stuff, and just posted it up. It would be kind of pretty cool to put on the Jets Facebook page. And next thing, heaps of people are sharing it, and the Bilambil Grapevine page is sharing it. Everyone's like, "That's beautiful, it's magnificent." I was like, "Oh, so it's pretty." It was definitely worth it. Fly it around the water and stuff like that. Take it to Cook Island and things, and it's been. I actually, when I bought it, I had it about 2 months, and it actually landed and crashed into the Tweed River.
Really? I actually did ask Trevor that what would happen if because he's like, the one thing I was concerned about, and I know this would have been me if I ever owned a friggin' drone, is that what safety net is it? But while you got it high in the because when it comes down, it's gonna go break, it's gonna go bang. But I said, what foolproof methods have you got so it doesn't happen? And he went into saying you get like a warning, like you can set your warning limits and stuff. And
Well, the thing that got me is there was a warning that it was going to automatically land in 15 seconds.
Oh, okay.
And I'm over the water and I'm like this on my phone going, automatically land in 15 seconds. And then it said something like, max height reached. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's only 10 meters in the air. And like, I was so confused. And by the time I kind of comprehended everything, it just said 5, 4, 3.
Goodbye.
I'm hooked, and I'm like, I tried to bring it back, and it sunk, and I just let it go. I accepted it, and had to bite the bullet and buy another one a couple of weeks later. But yeah, it won't happen again.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I think. Like, it's a lesson learned for me, though. Mine wasn't a new drone. I probably didn't win the amount of money that I wanted to hope to get a new drone. It's I signed up to the TAB just to watch Sky Racing because there was no sport on, and then now all of a sudden I've picked up I became one of these people. I'll show you in a sec. Well, not as crazy as this guy, but I watched this yesterday and I thought this was classic. Check this out. He's just that reaction, just like.
Did he win?
Well, no, he went, fuck. So that was on the Blokes of the World page, Instagram page. They put up some good shit. But I saw that yesterday, and I've still got sore ribs from laughing. I had to get the massage gun to free that up. How's it now? When you're getting on is then when you look at your transactions on eBay and you look at all the stuff that you buy, and I think the only thing that I bought that wasn't healthcare was a new DVD player just for my PC. But then I bought an AccuPen the other day, which is just zapping my hand, something shocking, but that's the thing to get the nerves happening. And then I bought this massage gun, which has freed up my right shoulder. And then it goes good. I'm gonna have to have a go at it a little bit later. But then I'm buying yoga mats. I'm buying Epsom salts, and fuck, man, I didn't buy any of this shit when I was 25.
Yeah, and I'm always looking for different ways to train because it just gets a bit boring and repetitive stuff. Like I'm 37 this year, so you start to get bored of it. And my mate put up a weighted, the weighted vests where you got a vest and you can put all the weight stuff in it.
Yeah.
And his XPT stuff, it was $50 with 20 kilos of weight. So I just went, yep. Bought it, went for a walk in it today, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool, this is different. And got about half an hour in, I just like, oh man, this is killing me, eh? So we'll have to take some weights out next time, I reckon.
I know, man. But that's the sad reality I've come to. It's like looking at my eBay transactions, I'm thinking, fuck, man, I'm feeling and I'm talking about being claustrophobic with crowds and stuff. And that's one thing that I'm sort of that's the one thing I look if I do eventually go to a game this year, having the social distance seat. I mean, that's the one thing that I enjoy, when you get general admission and you've got a whole fucking, section to yourself and you can just drink beer and just, sort of like having your own private box. But then I used to when the Brisbane Roar, back when they were good, I used to be in the active area standing up and being one of those guys that swore and stuff. And now I just watch them now and I'm thinking, fuck, I couldn't even do 20 minutes of that now. I just need to sit down and have a breather. It's like,
it's like with the rules and restrictions and stuff. Like we get to training and you don't even think anymore. Like first thing you do is you just walk over and you give your hands a pump and you're sanitizing your hands because you just it's changing people, the way people think, and like you said, the way people are acting and stuff like that. So it's going to be different. So
yeah. So one other thing before we wrap it up, there's more stuff I want. It's always been the way with these podcasts. I had these all you have so much stuff, and then we just have too much fun talking about footy and stuff. Tell us a bit about your clothing line. Is that your clothing line that you've got there? Wearing the Gorn shirts?
Oh yeah, nah, it's not. I was just kind of promoting and stuff like that as
model.
Well.
You're just a handsome male model, mate.
but from doing all that promoting is what kind of got me wanting to do more of my own stuff with the drone and stuff like that, and kind of just getting out doing my own thing a bit more. So
Yeah, because I wanted to share this. I mean, tell me, is this your best male model shot or this next one?
yeah,
Look at that.
I
You're
don't
holding
know.
the seashells, mate. Like,
Yes, that's only taken on a friggin' iPhone as well, like an iPhone
really?
10 or whatever it is. Yeah, my maybe the newest one. But yeah, we went Pippiing. We went for a Pippi session out in
And then you on
at
the
our
drink
secret.
there.
Yeah, that was good. I'm doing dry July, so no more of that. No more of that next month.
You're
So
doing dry July, mate.
yeah,
I've seen some of your post game videos and your Sunday trips and like what is it, your Mad Monday or whatever, or Silly Sunday, mate. Dry
yeah,
July. Let's put it this way. You learn it when it comes to the off season. Let's put it that way.
yeah. And our first game is at Bilambil against Byron at this stage as well.
Okay, yeah,
So
yep. I was going to wonder about that
yeah,
draw too.
yeah. So that's put in at the moment. But if we have a big win or something like that, yeah, it is going to be
It's going
hard
to be
not to have a
on.
big.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
we'll see.
well, let's put it this way: if Todd Carney's allowed, well, Todd Carney, I think did dry July last year, and then he had a I think he went to some raid. Well, you probably remember this. So he went to a Raiders function. It was some special Raiders team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave himself permission. You know, he gave himself a leave pass for that. So I think you're allowed a leave pass.
Yeah. So, but we'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
We got to win first.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. How this season comes about and how things go for Bilambil on that front. And so before we go, so was that always in the works? Was it just a off the cuff 1 year plan to come from Gold Coast Rugby League to NRRL? Was it a few years in the making, or how did that eventuate?
Yeah, definitely It was a few years in the making, but like unfortunately, it just didn't get it. Playing in the Gold Coast competition just wasn't as fun for the players as it used to be. Was it more or less that we weren't competing with those kind of teams like the Burleys and the Tugans and Grumbers and such. But it got to a point where we were playing, the local A grade Burley team had players like Jeff Lynch, who's I'm almost certain he's played NRL for the Titans before, and like Tyrone Robert Davies was playing A grade and stuff like that. And you're just like, how can we compete with those kind of players? And you want to play those better players, and you want to push yourself, and you want to always better yourself as a club and as players. But it took the fun out of it. And then when it just stopped being fun, it just got to. It was timing as well. It worked out good timing for the MRRL. Wanted a team to come over, and so it just kind of all worked out well for this year. And when we went to the meeting to kind of say, we gave our proposal and why we wanted to join, and it seemed like most of the clubs wanted us to go over. It started to get to like it was a pain in the ass worrying every week about, is this kickoff Queensland time or is it New South Wales time? Because we're the only New South Wales club in the Gold Coast League when the Big Seagulls pulled out.
Yeah,
and it just made sense. And our Bilambil Jets play down that way as well. So so it was always kind of coming, and it's been a positive response. A lot of the local people, like I got heaps of mates that play for Coogin, for Tweed Coast, even Wollumbar, and they're all just like, yeah, it's great that Bilambil's back in the comp because they want to bash us. So it's like that local rivalry's back, and it was definitely 2 years. It wasn't kind of a spur of the moment.
I'm looking forward to seeing it all in action. And hopefully we'll be in the box to see a bit of it this year, even at a reduced competition. The other thing I want to do next time we get you on, if you can get access to a KO account, if you've got one or not, I suggested there's this thing called a watch along where you can watch something, then you reflect onto it. So with Shorey, I've got one lined up for him for one of the games we called. One with Crossy, I think it was the grand final review. We've only done a couple of games together, so hopefully there'll be one we can do in the future from this year. But I know it wasn't as happy memories for you, but I would like to see what your thoughts were on that grand final from last year and go to that from front to back because you were down there for it, and just get
Urbar?
no, the one against no, the Roosters Raiders. That's why I said you get the KO account.
Yeah, mate.
I want to get your feeling on that because I've been in your position as a Broncos supporter in 2015, being a supporter of a grand final team that was runner up and the heartbreak of it. And man, you got a raw deal. And like when we got another hour and a half to kill, we can hash over that blow by blow.
Yeah, the main thing about that game is going into it, I didn't want Roosters to be in the grand final. I wanted it to be against Storm or whoever,
Yeah.
Roosters played before. But heading into the game, my thoughts were Raiders are going to have to play really well and they're going to need the footy gods and the footy luck to be on their side to beat the Roosters.
Yeah.
And from the get-go, there's the ball hit the trainer and the Roosters got the ball back.
And then 6 again.
6 again call. Yeah. Like it's just that the luck just wasn't there for them.
Yeah.
And not taking anything away from the Roosters, they were the team to beat, and they just they got the job done, and it was sad, but yeah, it was.
I know. We'll rehash over that, and because I mean, I thought the highlight for that was it was when before you actually, because I was watching some of your stories on the before you went there, and you had your little Raiders hat on, and you were pissing off your little bulldog or your puppy, and I think your missus there too. She was like crook with and then I was like watching. I'm like, mate, you are the tweed shy pest. If we got Michael should have been the Byron shy pest, that crowns you tweed shy pest.
Yeah, no, I've been called that before up this way. So yeah,
but yeah, but for that one, it's like when I was watching it, because I was actually crook at that. Like I was speaking because I actually felt for you, Mrs. Then because because the week before, I had gastro as well. Like I had a real bad stomach bug, and I said to in my last podcast, and this is just proving of age, like I hadn't had food poisoning or like that sort of shit for about 10 years, and I remember like it's a 24-hour thing, and then you're right as rain, you might have a bit of a stomach stretch. I was fucked for a week. I only came good on the day of the grand final, and I had it the week before. And whilst the symptoms were only for like 24, 48 hours, it just dragged like all the salt and all the sweat. And mate, I was white as these walls here as a ghost, like for a week. And I'm just like, I thought, you poor girl, what did you put her through for that? And I'm just like,
yeah. Well, karma got me back because we were at Newcastle for our footy trip away at Bilambil the weekend of the grand final, and I was a little bit sick leading into it, and then getting on the drink Friday night, going to the races Saturday day. I woke up Sunday, the day of the grand final, probably the crookest I've ever been, just phlegm, just cold, just cough. Drove from Newcastle to Sydney to watch the game.
Yeah.
Couldn't function, had to have a sleep before the grand final, and like I put a bluff face on for all the grand final, but I was real sick the actual day of the grand final.
Yeah.
And watching it like that. So yeah, it was payback.
well, we'll go through that blow by blow. With a watch long, we'll get so we can we'll watch the game and then we can kind of reflect back on it in the coming weeks ahead. But Mickey, look, I'm hoping some big things for in the commentary front as well. It's Bilambil Jets in the coming weeks.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, and man, pleasure having you on. And let's we were supposed to be on the mic today. Actually, I think Kujin was supposed to play Ballina today on the original draw, and I think you and I were supposed to do that together. So I'm glad we got a bit of mic action today. Nevertheless.
Yeah, definitely, that was good.
Anytime. You. All right, so that was episode 6 of the DUANEO podcast. I should have said this at the start. It was just when shit goes quick when you're having too much fun. If you're watching this on YouTube, you want to hear this in audio version, hit the description below. Subscribe to the YouTube page, subscribe to Instagram, all that shit. So we got a few more people than just my inner circle listening to it. Mickey Coleman, absolute pleasure, brother. Can't wait to catch up with you in the coming weeks for
Yep, go, yeah.
Okay, and that was episode 6 of the DUANEO podcast. We'll catch you for episode 7 in the coming days. Peace out.